Alright, for everybody that has a Polaris 850 XP Sportsman, uh, can't be the only guy out here with this problem with these starters. That folder's on its fifth starter, and now I'm just gonna take this one apart and get it right. I've already found out what the real problem is, but I just want to help you guys out there on YouTube and trying to figure it out. It's really not that bad. Like, you got the black casing on the outside that just peels off pretty much, and it's supposed to seal up the alternator from the weather, but it doesn't. Water just gets in. It's pretty bad. Well, these are two 8mm bolts, pretty much. You got one on each side. I've already taken this whole thing apart. Not really scared of it at all. After that, you got these two Phillips, little short Phillips. They don't go really far. They just hold the contacts, the whole contact plate in, and this just comes right off. Part of the bushings in there that helps to hold the actual motor to the back of the case. It's not really a very precise thing, but hey, this giant C-clip right here, it comes off pretty easy. See if I can't get a screwdriver and try and pry it off. I've already did this part. It's hard to do it with one hand. I'm trying to hold the camera. And there goes the starter. And the C-clip just comes right off. This is not really a bad motor to take apart. I got a little workbench that helps me, but hey, not everybody has everything. And this is what a good starter would do. You seen how these contacts sprung in and they're real springy? This is a good one. Well, it wasn't too good until I cleaned it and got them to work again. There's really not much to this. They got these little coil springs that hold that push out the contacts onto the armature. It's really not that bad. But if you can see, it's all corroded. It's got rust on it. It just looks dirty. You know, full of rust. I wish I had some rust cleaner, or else I would clean it. I'm going to set that back over there. Putting those contacts back onto this isn't that bad. You just got to push one side in and get one side on and work it, I guess. Or you can hold it from the back, because it goes on like this. And you can just push them out with two hands and get it on there, back on there. It's not that bad. There's a worst part to the starter that's actually pretty bad. Well, after you get that off, this pulls out. Or you can pull it out all at once. You need two hands for this, because that magnet's really pulling it. And this simply just pulls out. And as you can see, it's got just looks like a little gear, which it is, that goes down in here and hits those teeth. It's kind of like a reduction, like a planetary. These motors are built pretty good. There's no reason why these things should fail like they do. They're pretty stout. They're pretty strong. They're pretty good. Now, good thing is that I think you can buy individual parts like this, being the solenoid. As you can see, it's rusted too, and it comes apart pretty easy. It comes apart too easy, easier than I want it to be, because it's really hard to put back in, because that has to come in contact with this little nylon bar, if you want to call it that. I'm about to show you what it does. This whole starter comes apart way easier than what it should. All the magnets right here, it only goes on one way, so don't be afraid to take these things apart. There's a little notch right here. I don't know if you could see it, but that notch has to line up with that. So if you take this thing apart and you think you're screwed, you're not. You're fine. That's going to line back up, and you won't have an issue with that. Next, this actually is like a little plate, and it pops up. As you can see, it basically holds down these little gears in here. This whole starter is pretty easy to take apart. And next, you can probably push it up easier from the bottom, but this just comes right out. Right out. And as you can see, there's nothing really wrong with this. This is made pretty stout, you know. I'm pretty sure there's something in it that fails, but I didn't have this issue. I had a contact issue. But why not just take it all apart since you got it apart, you know? But there's a lot of places where water gets into these starters. This little piece of rubber that separates the solenoid from the magnets. Just a bunch of holes, you know, it's just one giant hole basically. They silicone these things underneath the black piece of rubber that these things are coated in. But water still gets in no matter what. And everybody who has these bikes pretty much likes water. I mean, how are you going to keep water out when you clean it? Even when you just wash it, generally wash this bike, you end up with condensation in here that just eats it up. And that's pretty much all there is to it. These are two 10mm bolts that hold the solenoid in. And they're right here. They're not very long. But the two long bolts actually hold the rest of it in together. And I'm hoping to go ahead and clean this up really good. And put a tube of silicone on it. At every little space that I could find that has a potential for water to get in. But it's not that bad of a starter. It's pretty strong. That's a well-built starter. There's no reason why they should fail within 50 hours, if that. Like, they just go out for no damn reason. But I found a reason, and the reason is mainly because of this. And when the whole thing just quits working, the solenoid is in series with these contacts. So if these contacts aren't hitting the magneto, then you won't even have this solenoid act. Like, the solenoid won't even kick out. This solenoid is backwards. It's actually springy. So I'm pretty sure that when you activate the solenoid to kick out the gear, it pulls it in. It's that kind of solenoid. It's got a little spring in here, and I can't get this up because this part comes apart way too damn easy. This is the hard part of putting this solenoid back into your bike. If there was a way you could take this thing apart without having to worry about the solenoid, it'd be great. And the solenoid comes apart very easy. They got like this little cardboard looking gaskets, real thin. It's tougher than what I thought it would be, but yeah. And that's pretty much it. This is everything that's in the Polaris starter. Very, very simple. Very easy to take apart. The only thing that you're going to have an issue with is actually getting the starter off the four-wheeler. You need a very long 8mm, I think it's 8mm Allen to take it out. But this is basically what I have, and I'm going to see if I can't clean it up and silicone it and not have another water issue with it. Plan to make another video when I have it siliconed and back together. But I have tested it, and I do know that it was this. This is the culprit right here. This is why these starters fail. These springs, these contacts or brushes or whatever you want to call them, it has such a tight fit in here that this piece of metal just corrodes, and you can see the corrosion on the outside. It's like a white corrosion looking stuff, if I can get it to focus. And it's really tight in there, so when it corrodes on those contacts, it just quits springing, and it will not spring out. Like, you can even see one shorter than the other. Like, this long one might have been the stuck one. I don't know. You know, I mean, it was starting to bite for a good while. And I think you can find these on eBay.